Welcome to the Data Friday. My name is Michael Olschimke. I'm CEO of Scalefree. Today in a different location because I'm still sitting in a hotel in Munich. I've been to the TDWI conference, and yeah, I'm leaving tonight or today. So yeah, let me just what's the Data Friday? We essentially answer questions every time every Friday at 11 o'clock Central European Standard Time, German time, and it allows you to audience to answer to ask questions which we answer about any data vault related question or data-driven questions, data mining, cloud computing, MPP-based computing, and so on. So everything data is nice, interesting for us. So that's the format essentially. Different location, as I said today, but well, that's it for the questions. Share my screen. So this question here is essentially coming from the question form that I'll show you later today, after today's session. And this is about deriving dimensions from reference data. So they have 7 to 8 lookup reference tables, and we add them, or they add them as hub or reference tables while creating the raw data vault. Okay, so they got reference tables in a raw data vault, which is fine, which is what we do. For example, they have a region table in the raw data vault, and it has a region code. That's the reference code essentially. A description, language code, valid from and to date. Fine. Okay. How to manage create a degenerated dimension from such raw data vault? We're not sure if you mean degenerated dimension, because degenerate dimension means you have a dimension attribute, let's say the region code, and that's what you want to have inside your fact entity. So the fact entity has a attribute, and you consider this as a dimension essentially without any further descriptions, which is fine. Just add the code, maybe add some, or just pre-join the other entities. Let me just draw this up. I prepared my whiteboard here today. So the idea is this. Typically, well, what you have is, let's say, a non-hysterized link with some facts. So let's say, let's call it transactions. Transactions. So you got 8 transactions, non-hysterized link, and there's some hub references. Let's say hub customer, hub product, right? Something like that. And you have some region codes, some region tables. So you have a ref hub for region that contains the region code in your case, and you have a ref satellite that contains the descriptions. Or you have a, let's call it a ref table for languages, where you have a flat and white description, right? Flat and white implementation, the code as a primary key, and then all the descriptions, the sort order and so on, the abbreviation, whatever, as a payload of the table, essentially. That's it. So both options will work. This option here has the advantage is simpler, but the disadvantage is how do you capture changes to your reference data, which is done here in the reference satellite, right? So that's on the left side, the model is more audible. Typically the today's typical choice, what most customers do actually. So, but no matter what, that's what you have. So you could have this mix essentially, right? And I should share my, no, you see my screen, I believe. Okay. So that's the basic idea. And now you want to produce a fact entity with a degenerated dimension. And let's say there's a reference to the region code somehow. Maybe not a, and I regret that I just added this as a, maybe not as a foreign key, but just the code is added to the dependent child link, or non-hysterized link, sorry. It's inside the link structure. So we have the code of the region, for example. And now what you do is, now my next question would be, what kind of attributes you want to have in the fact entity? Do you want to have just the code and you're done? Just create a fact view on top, and voila, you're done. That contains the code of the region, and that's the degenerate attribute. If you say, well, wait a minute, I want to add some attributes, let's say the caption or the name of the region, I want to add that as a degenerate attribute, dimension attribute to the facts, then in your view, you just pre-join based on this implicated link, or implicated reference, I should say. You join the reference hub and the reference satellite to get the caption of the region according to some timeline. That's the basic idea. So you just pre-join the caption into your facts. Done. Time-based, timeline-based, what we typically do is when you have an issue of identifying the right caption, the version of the caption. So first of all, I would just give it a shot. Just try to join this. Try to identify the, let's say, either the latest description of the region, if you want to go for type 1 dimension regions or type 1 dimension attribute for the region, then just join for the latest one, should work. If you want to go for a type 2 reference, for you want to have the caption name of the region according to the fact timestamp, then you have a between query essentially that you have to join. You go for the fact timestamp, let's say the snapshot date of the fact, you join into the satellite here, where the load date is between, sorry, the snapshot is between load date and load end date. That would be the approach essentially. If that works, and I hope it actually works, because reference tables tend to be relatively small. That's why a lot of stuff works actually. A lot of joins will work. And if not, you could come up with the idea of adding a pit table, but I wouldn't. Just to be clear. What I would do is this. I would turn, in the raw data vault, you have a satellite which is based on load dates and load end dates. Well, virtual load end dates, by the way, right? Not physical ones anymore. But you have a load date in the reference satellite down here, this one. The primary key in this table, in this reference satellite, contains the code of the parent, the region code, and the load date. When did you got the change on the region caption, what else? But that's a problem, because now when you want to join everything, you have potentially a complex join. If you don't get away with this, you could turn this into a reference satellite in a business vault. Let's call this bref satellite. That's also attached to the code, but then the primary key is the code from the parent and the snapshot date. You decide day by day what is the current description to be used day by day on the snapshot timeline. You pre-compute this. And then the join is fast. So that's what I would do. Again, I'm always assuming relatively small data volume here, because that's what we see in reference tables. You're not looking at billions of rows or trillions of rows or whatever, or even millions of rows. You don't have that. Thousands of rows, yes, but it's all small stuff. So that's the thing. If you say, well, I would like to have a conformed dimension, let's go through both options. If you want to go for a conformed dimension, what you do is you essentially go for you turn the reference table, either this one here, into a dimension. This was language. Not sure if it's getting better here from my scripting here, but you turn this into dimension, and you use the code of the reference table, the primary key of the reference table, as the dimension identifier. And then you would just pretend it's a dimension, make it look like a dimension in the view, right? That's it. Same game here. You essentially join those two tables, or those two tables, one or all three, I don't care. You join those tables into a dimension. In the same way you would join a hub and its satellites to a dimension. You select all the business keys, and then if it should be a type 1 dimension, you left join the reference satellite for the latest delta according to a load date, the latest the latest load date per hash per region code in this case. So that's basically, I use the same concept as when producing dimensions from a hub and its satellites in a raw data vault. That gives you the dimension, but your dimensions are based on code. We don't have a hash key here involved. It's just the code. The code is the dimension key. And the dimension key is also or the code, the region code, is also here in the non-historized link. So you have it. Create a fact view on top. Use the code of the region inside your facts, inside your transactions, as the dimension reference now, and you're done. That's the basic idea. You could then, in the dashboarding application, you could provide a relationship between these facts here and these dimensions, because you know it's a code, right? The code reference is a reference to the dimension reference, and that is the link. That's the foreign key, if you want, between your facts and the dimension views. But they're just views, so there are no foreign keys typically. So you just produce this and configure it in your dashboard application, you're done. That's what it is. Or if you say, well, let's talk about degenerate dimensions again, you could also pre-join everything, right? So you could also have a flat and white fact view where you pre-join all the dimension attributes from your reference table or reference hub and reference satellites into your fact view. Just pre-join everything, denormalize everything, and that's the same game. And you know how to do this essentially. So I'm not going to details, but it's left join the kind of stuff, right? So good question, guys. Thanks for that. Let me just share my screen again. I hope I answered it. I made some assumptions here with the terminology, degenerate dimension or conform dimension. So I answered both questions essentially. So that's the idea. If you have a question like this, go for the form SFR, at sfr.ee/dbfriday here to the left. That's a form where you can submit your questions. They can type in essentially the question that they have, upload some pictures, maybe some whiteboard pictures, pictures of the team. I will show it seriously. And yeah, and we cherry pick the questions according to our schedule, to our need, and that's the idea. Check also out our Scalefree.2/webinars. At this URL, you'll find 2 more webinars on a monthly basis, one for DBT and the other one for Warescape, where our automation experts at Scalefree talk about the tool usage and how to achieve their goals essentially with the automation tools and to become productive essentially. All right. If you can't wait for until next Friday to getting questions answered, check out the Data Vault Innovators community that we set up with Ignition Data. It's essentially DVA's partner in Australia. Check them out. It's a forum style community where you can type in your questions, people jump on your questions essentially to answer them. We have a little contest between Ignition Data and Scalefree, who's answering more of quicker questions. I believe it's quicker or something. Who's quick on answering the question. So that's the contest running for a while. So you can expect quick answers. So cool. Thanks for joining. See you next Friday, guys. Thank you.